Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and I'll be your host. And today we're going to be talking about finding great places to work as a digital nomad with my guest, Haley Grant. Haley, welcome to the show.
Excited.
Oh, great. I'm so excited to have you here. So, Haley, can you first tell us about your background and how you first started your digital nomad journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of was something I feel like that naturally evolved and just happened. I definitely didn't go into it saying I wanted to be a digital nomad. But basically, after I graduated college in 2017, my friend and I, we kind of decided like, let's just do like some sort of fun adventure after college. We don't really know what we want to do with our lives yet. So let's just go work at a national park together. So we drove from New York out to Wyoming and we worked at the Grand Teton National Park together. That's where I met my now co-founder, Carlos. He was also working there, and he was from Spain. I really just had no idea, again, what I wanted to do career-wise. So I kind of after that was like, why don't I just move to Spain and I can just try and find some job when I'm there, maybe teaching or whatever. So I moved, and I actually ended up finding a job as a freelance writer for a travel company in Spain. My background, my degree was in writing, so this kind of made sense for me. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm doing something with my degree. This is great. I get to move to Spain. So I ended up moving to Spain and working as a freelance writer for this company. And by doing this, I kind of, well, when I arrived, I ended up being laid off like 2 weeks later. So I was like, oh my God, I am stuck in a foreign country. I don't have a work visa. So what do I do? It looks like my adventure has come to an end. And that's kind of when I started doing some digging and realizing like, oh, there could be a real opportunity here for me to kind of make a career for myself as a digital nomad and just finding jobs online because I couldn't find a job in Spain, working full time. So I kind of had to, do the best I could to find a job online. And I kind of came across a bunch of digital nomad communities. And that's kind of how it all got started. And after that, I just started writing and freelancing for different companies and gigs. And I realized this just feels like the lifestyle for me. I love the flexibility of it. And I'm also really close to my family in New York. So the idea that I could live in a different country, travel around, and then also go back home when I wanted to, that was kind of ideal for me. And I just really like the challenge and the hustle of it all, trying to find gigs and, different opportunities. So it kind of just happened in that way. And I ended up working for a few companies after that on a more full-time basis, but it was always freelance and always kind of in that digital nomad area, I would say.
That's such a cool story and very interesting the way that you were, you went to Spain. I guess perhaps because of your friend Carlos. Is that why you chose Spain
Yes.
originally?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I chose Spain. And again, I was not the most career oriented person back then. So it's like the only thing I know is that I love to travel. So let's just go with this. But then that kind of like, I don't know, just started something in me where it was like, oh, if I want to stay here, like I need to make it work. I need to do the grind and the hustle. And then I don't know, I started loving it and I really just became very invested in my career and it became one of the most important things to me. And I realized like, I don't need to go to an office every day to have an amazing career and build something really great for myself. So, yeah, it's kind of how it worked out.
We all love that mindset on this channel for sure.
Yes.
And also, I'm curious, how long did you end up in Spain before you started traveling more around to different places?
Yeah, so I would say I moved to Spain in 2018. I was there through the pandemic. I came back here to New York for 1 year. Then I went back to Spain for a year, and then I started doing some more traveling around. So I would say, all in all, if I'm doing the math right, it was like 4 or 5 years in Spain, more or less.
Oh, and but that timeline, I'm really glad to hear that you got there a few years before the pandemic started, especially if you're
Yeah,
writing
definitely.
about travel. But
Hmm.
I'm curious, would you say that going to one country and staying there for a few years as you got on your feet and found these gigs, do you think that was a better way to do it for you than maybe jumping around right away? Some people will start in hostels and going around to co-livings and things.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, I'm not sure if it would have made much of a difference just because I kind of, I know a lot of people who they go into the digital nomad world, and they may have started like in an office, something more stable, and then they're like, this isn't for me. I want to hop around a bit more. And I kind of did it the opposite way. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference because I definitely was doing like a lot of hopping around in the sense that I was working with different clients in different countries, with people in different countries. I think that I was definitely able to build a community in Madrid because I was there. So I met with different people, who were digital nomads, or I was able to also build up my writing portfolio literally just by like working for free for some publications there, just so I could start getting some experience and building up my portfolio. So I think making those connections was great. And also it did lead to my more full-time role for some Spanish-based companies that I ended up working for, which was an amazing experience. So yeah.
That's great. It's just something I always wonder about. I did that myself as well. I based in a city for a few years. Well, for me, it was several years. I was more of an expat.
Yeah.
But then because of that experience, you can go forward. And I felt like I had a good foundation. So it sounds like you did as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah.
So speaking of foundation, so you were there and then you started eventually thinking about starting your own company with a co-founder, and it's called Sync. Can you tell us more about this company?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just so funny because, like I said, I was always, once I moved to Spain and started my career, I became extremely career oriented and very entrepreneurial. But like, I never envisioned starting my own company. Like, there's people who I meet and they're like, someday I want to start my own company. And that's my co founder. He is someone who has always wanted to start his own company. I was never quite like that. So for me, this is very much based on like, it's something I'm passionate about because it was a need that I myself experienced. So basically, what happened was, we were living in Madrid and we both, for the first time, were remote workers. So I had always been a remote worker, but Carlos had not always been a remote worker. He was a remote worker finally, and we just kind of said, we should take advantage of this because who knows how long we're both going to be working remote for. And we decided, let's pack up our apartment here in Madrid and let's just road trip around Europe and work from different places and kind of have this adventure. So we started doing that last fall. And so it was like right around this time last year that our first stop was Prague. So we were living in Prague for like 6 weeks. And we just both kind of had this issue for like the first time where we were like, oh my God, this is such an amazing city. We would love to get out and like work from a coffee shop or work from different places because it was also just us alone there. So we wanted to feel this sense of community and like we were part of the community there. But it literally just became a laziness thing where we would say to each other, like, oh, but we don't know which places have Wi-Fi. We don't know which places have charger outlets or, are there big tables? Is there natural light? I like to work with a lot of natural light. So just things like that would keep us from leaving our Airbnb. And after a while, we kind of just got thinking like, how is it that, it's after COVID, there's so many remote workers, companies that are remote and hybrid like never before. Surely there must be a solution and there must be a way for remote workers to find places to work from, without the hassle of trying to figure out if it meets your needs or not. We couldn't find anything that really helped us address this need. So we were like, what if we create this? And my background is nothing related to tech at all. Carlos, he's in data. So, and, he has that business strategy mindset, but this has been a huge learning curve. But what's really just driven me, honestly, even today when I'm like overwhelmed or stressed, it's okay, but I still need this. This problem isn't resolved. This is still something that I need. And that's just so motivating to me. So that's kind of, the idea that got it started, I guess.
I just interviewed someone about self-storage for digital nomads,
Yeah.
and it started the same way. It's like he wanted a place where
Yeah.
he could store his stuff. It's such a powerful motivator. And we need
Yeah.
this. I thank you for working on this because it's something I'm sure a lot of digital nomads have faced. So you
Yeah.
mentioned a lot of different things that you look for, including natural light and the outlets. But I'm wondering, like, first of all, what are some favorite places that you've found to work as a digital nomad? Like, have you found some specific cities that seem to have a lot of places that it's like a good quality of life and lots of these laptop friendly cafes?
Yeah, definitely. So I think in general, Spain is kind of known for its amazing quality of life. But I don't think, compared to the States at least, I don't think it's as common for people to, be working at a coffee shop or anything like that. They do it for sure. And I would do it when I was there, but it's just like not as common. Here in the States, actually, I just moved to Boston a few months ago for this launch. I even myself cannot believe how many places there are to work from. So I was kind of always thinking like, coffee shops, that's kind of like the easy one. Like you go and you work from a coffee shop. But since moving to Boston and just like, speaking to different people and different businesses and remote workers, I just can't believe all the places that there are to work from. I think some of my personal favorites have been a brewery. So there's a lot of breweries in Boston, and those are great places to work from because during the day, it's pretty slow for them. So like they might have people coming in for lunch or whatever, but like it's actually like a really great vibe. There's a ton of space, there's natural light, and they let you work from there. So like a lot of these places I started calling restaurants and breweries and even like museums and other places that you wouldn't really think of necessarily. And I was like, do you let people work from there? And they were like, oh my God, of course. That's why we have Wi-Fi. Come here and work from here. So we kind of soon started realizing like, this is not just for coffee shops. This is for any business who has the space. If they want to kind of take advantage of this remote world work world that we're living in, they can do that by being on our platform. So there's not really any requirements for being on our platform aside from you obviously need to be cool with people coming to work from your place.
That's great. I have to say, I've never thought about going to a brewery during the day and working from
Me
there,
neither.
but it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. They do have like bigger tables for bigger groups to watch like sporting events or
Yeah,
something. That's a good
completely.
tip.
I hadn't
And
thought about it either until I saw it was like last year. I remember seeing this man who's traveling on business, and I was at the brewery just for fun with my friend, and I saw this guy working on his computer, and I was like, huh, like look at that. That's a cool place to work from. I guess it's a really cool vibe here. It's not too loud, it's the middle of the day. And so recently I thought about that guy and I was like, wait a second, I wonder if like breweries around the city, if they actually let you do that. And I called them all and they were like 100%, like come on over, like you can stay as long as you want, like order something, whatever. But I think it's really beneficial for them because breweries or restaurants, places like that, if they're having a slow period during the day, there's so many remote workers who I'm sure would love to go and work from there. And anytime I go, which is fairly often, there's always people there who are working. So it's pretty cool.
that's great. And how did the museums work that you called? Like, I know a lot of them have cafes inside.
Yeah, so I actually reached out to one recently in Boston and I asked them, I basically asked the same thing. I'm like, are you cool with people going to, work from your cafe for the day? And they're all just the same. They're like, absolutely. We've got the space, we've got the Wi-Fi, just order something and that's it. And so the way that our platform works is, if you're a business, you can kind of like put what the requirements are on your business listing. So a lot of people, they would tell us, in March, we went by foot to probably like 100 or more coffee shops basically to check them out, to take pictures, to see like, is this a cool place to work from? And also to get the feedback of coffee shops. And they were like, but I only let people work here for 2 hours. We were like, great, put it on our platform, put that in your profile, say like, you can come here, but it's only a 2 hour limit. So with museums, it's kind of the same thing. If you want to be on our platform and you're like, oh, but we have a limit or you have to buy something. Well, you can put it on our platform and then remote workers, they kind of know what they're getting. So you don't need to, worry about them arriving and answering these questions. They can look for it on our platform and see everything they need to know right in your listing.
That is so helpful. I'm sure a lot of us have
Yeah.
felt that kind of shame or like just we didn't want to ask and approach somebody. Maybe it was
Mm-hmm.
busy. And also the
Yeah.
dreaded going into a cafe. And this happens to me. I live here in Lisbon. There are some cafes where you walk in and you see that, like the no smoking sign, the no laptop sign.
Yeah.
And then you've come all that
Yeah.
way and you didn't know there was no way to check ahead of time unless you read Google reviews or
Completely.
something. So
Completely. And that's what always would like deter me myself from like going to a coffee shop. I can be like super lazy and I'm like, oh, like I want to get out of the house. I want to go be around people. But like I don't want to go all the way there and find out, oh, like there's no Wi-Fi or there's a time limit or whatever. So I just end up not going at all. And it's kind of a shame because it's so funny how like we're remote workers and we have the flexibility and freedom to work from wherever, but then we're sitting in our houses all day every day and it's like there comes a point where even me, I love to be alone, but I'm like I have to get out, I have to go be around people. So we just want to make that as easy as possible.
That's great. I have another question for you about places. So have you contacted any
Yeah.
salons or hair salons?
Ooh, I actually have not. That's a really good one. Have you ever worked from a salon before?
I did when it was a hairstylist I'd been a friend with for 8 years. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm be opening my laptop. It was on my lap while she was doing my
Yeah.
hair. Desperate deadline. But the reason I ask is they're everywhere, first of all. And I've passed several of them that are empty or almost empty, and they always have a chair and that table in front of them. So I thought, and they usually have a tea or
Yeah.
coffee dispenser. So it's like maybe they can start finding another way to make money.
That's a really good point. That's like something that I love about doing this too. I feel like every day I'm hearing like of new places that like I haven't even thought of. So we were recently actually interviewed for this Boston Globe article, and when I was reading it, there was this rock climbing gym in Boston, and like they sell day passes, and you can like go there and work from there. And they've kind of like created this little co-working space. So I feel like for me, that's definitely one of the coolest things about doing this. It's like, oh my God, I'm realizing all the amazing places there actually are to work from. And companies really are trying to make the most out of this and make themselves more attractive and available for remote workers. So it's super cool. I'm going to have to add that one to my list of places to reach out to, the salons.
I look forward to hearing about it and then to know that
Yeah.
maybe all these salons I pass one day will start to get into that trend.
Yeah, definitely. That's very cool.
What is your favorite place to work currently? Do you prefer a hotel lobby, a co-working space, a cafe?
That's a good one. I feel like I love a coffee shop. So, like a coffee shop for me, I love it. That's probably where I go to work from most frequently. But I was actually just talking about this with my co founder today. I would say that my favorite place to work from is probably a hotel because they're kind of like co working spaces in their own ways. Like it gives you that luxurious feel. And, it's always beautiful. It's a nice atmosphere and ambiance. They have the desk space. They usually have coffee or something. And yeah, I don't know. I would probably say a hotel. We have this one user in New York City, and he just recommended three places on our platform that he likes to work from, and all three of them were hotels. And they pride themselves on being like an actual like hotel slash co-working space. So I would love to try that place out when I go there. But yeah, I would say a hotel. I always enjoy working from hotels when I'm traveling, especially.
I do love a good hotel. The only thing I found is that they have such varying policies in the lobby when it comes to Wi-Fi. Sometimes
Yep.
it's free, and then you need the room number and all of those things. But also with the hotels,
Completely.
I found that if it's especially a 4 or 5 star hotel, they're making sure their Wi-Fi works. If it doesn't, you're going to
Yeah.
hear from some, very picky people.
Yeah. I went to this one hotel in Ireland. This was years ago, like I think in 2018. And it was just amazing. It was like this castle. And I had to work while I was there. And I'm like sitting in this private room, and like they came and like they offered coffee and everything. And I just thought, this is amazing. Like I could sit here and work all day long. So I think it's definitely a good option if, the Wi Fi is not being finicky or anything, of course.
Yeah, but that's great. No, I do agree that hotel lobby is becoming, I think, a more popular trend among
Yeah,
people that have been going to the coffee shops for a while.
definitely. Yeah.
So I know that you've mentioned that Sync is also trying to connect remote professionals as part of the
Mhm.
the platform. Can you explain more about that and some of the other features that you're planning perhaps in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, as I mentioned, this kind of started as a necessity. We were like, we need to be able to find places to work from, and, that needs to be easier to do. This is something we need. But then we started doing some market research, and we actually like ran a survey with like over 100 remote and hybrid workers in the States, just like to get their feelings on everything. And long story short, what we ended up finding out was like, and also asking ourselves, why do people like to go and work from coffee shops from different places? Why not just stay home? You have the Wi-Fi, you have everything you need. And we kind of feel that one of the main reasons people want to get out of their house and go work from other places is to get that sense of community. I don't really consider myself much of a people person. I'm very happy to be alone. Like I don't need to be around people all the time. But there's just something said about like going to work from a coffee shop or a place, and even just like be around people, even if you're not going to work with a friend or a colleague, like just to be around people, to do some people watching or whatever. Like I think that's so important because that's something that's really been lost after the pandemic with so many people working remote is people, they feel lonely, they feel isolated. And so we kind of realize that like at the core of what we're doing, that's what we're addressing. It's not only about, making it easy to find places to work from, it's the why of what we're doing. And we're trying to make remote work, enjoy all the advantages and benefits of it, but it doesn't need to be this isolating, alone kind of situation. So once we kind of figured out that that was really at the core of what we were trying to do in our mission, we asked ourselves, how can we do this with our platform? Like, how can we kind of foster that connection in that community? So something that people can do with our platform, in addition to finding places to work from, is they can connect with friends, other professionals, and they can also see where they like to work from. So like if you're on our platform, you'll see in your profile, like you have your personalized map that you can pin, like save your favorite places that you like to work from. And you can see where other people like to work from and kind of like look at their map, wherever that may be in the world, of where they like to work from. And I just feel like there's really a shared experience in sharing workspaces. So I think it's a really cool thing to be able to see, like, this is what this person recommends, this is where they work from. You can also see people's interests. So on your profile, you can choose like things you're interested in talking about and connect with different people who share similar interests as you. So yeah, that's kind of just some things that we're trying to do, and we're building a mobile app which should be ready by the end of this year. So hopefully that'll make it even easier on the go for people to be connecting with others and finding cool places to work from. But it's really at the core of what we're doing, trying to foster this sense of community, which I think is more important now than ever before.
I totally agree. And also, it seems like an easy way you could start a conversation with somebody else on the platform, because you can see where they've been and what they like. So it's easy to say, hey, can you tell me about that space? Or I see that you like rock climbing.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's so true. And like, even it's kind of like this word of mouth thing. So like, we knew that we wanted this to be a platform that we build with our community. I mentioned that at the beginning. My co-founder and I, we literally walked to like over 100 places in Boston, and we added these places ourselves that we thought were good to work from. But that's obviously not scalable. So long term, what we need is people like the Digital Nomad World community and these other communities to add their places. We really want this to be a space and a place that people, they're giving their recommendations, they're sharing their experiences where they've been. And I think, I don't know, there's something really exciting about that. So yeah, that's kind of our goal long term with this, I think.
Yeah, I just for some reason had a thought of like, is this going to extend to come to my house? I've got a large table. Everyone come in.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, because so we kind of like say like we're the Airbnb of finding remote workspaces, which I know is like kind of silly because companies do it all the time, but I really believe that it's true because this was something we thought about, like, why not open up a room in your house and have people come work here? Airbnb, they have like rooms. I've stayed in rooms before just because you want to meet new people, you're traveling, you want to, meet new people, connect with others. So if you have, a spare room in your house, a spare office, why not, add it to our platform and say, hey, like you can work from here for the day. It's open from like 9 to 4, like I've got coffee, whatever. So that is something that we would definitely love to explore in the future. And we've talked about it a lot. So I think it's really cool. And I like literally just had that experience today myself, because I'm here alone and I've been in my apartment alone for a while. And I was like, oh my God, like I have a spare office. I should invite someone here just to work from here for the day, like just so I can have someone around. So I think it's a really cool idea. And I've actually spoken to a few Airbnb hosts just to like test the waters and see if this is something that they'd be interested in. And they said like, yeah, absolutely. If I can determine like, the hours of when I'm open for people to come work here at my place, then absolutely. Why would I not? And it's potentially passive income for them. So if no one is staying at their place during that day, they can have someone pay a small fee, whatever, and come here, work from their place, and you're meeting someone new. So definitely something we've talked about.
Less commitment is not as much, feeling that you have to get everything clean, for example, and could be easier.
Exactly. Definitely.
Well, that's so exciting. So I'm wondering, like, what's been the hardest thing about growing Sync, and what have been some of the unexpected benefits?
Yeah, so I would say the hardest thing, I mean, obviously, it's the fact that this has been such a learning curve. So, my background, as I said, I was a freelance writer, and now, it's like a tech co founder in Boston. So, it's been, a lot of learning and, trial and error and mistakes, which is normal along the way to happen. But aside from that, I would say, specific to Sync, the biggest challenge is how can we reach communities, digital nomad communities, where there are people who they literally do this for a living. They travel around, they see new places. How can we encourage them to add these places to our platform? Because as I mentioned, my co-founder and I, we cannot go to every city in the world and add all these places ourselves. So this is something that really needs to be built with the community. And I'm really excited about that. But it's definitely a challenge when you're a new company and, you know, you have to add these places, get these places on here for the first time. So it's a challenge, but it's also very exciting. And it's really cool to see that people have been adding places in other cities organically. So we kind of just want to start this in Boston and test the waters here. But we've had users say, hey, could I recommend places in my own hometown? And we're like, absolutely, like go for it. Like if this grows organically beyond into other cities, then that's an ideal situation for us. So it's just kind of figuring out creative ways on how to encourage people to add your places to our platform.
Yeah, I know that it's always important for me to find out what's the latest situation, especially
Yeah,
since the pandemic. Like, even the
yeah,
latest from the last week, like, oh, right now there's someone that's not so nice working at the cafe, or they're very
yeah,
friendly. You really want to come here. Or this month they're having the pumpkin spice latte available.
yeah,
So it would be cool. And maybe, if we know that people are all updating, then you can trust that you can
yeah,
go there and provide the same service for
completely.
others. So
Yep, definitely. I agree for sure.
yeah. Well, that's great. So are you currently still based in Boston?
Yeah, so we're still based in Boston. We just arrived. So it's like weird because it's my first time living in the States again since, I graduated college and then moved to Europe. So like I'm back and living in the States. It's been a really great experience. It's an amazing, amazing city with a lot of entrepreneurs and startups. So it's been really great. Definitely different than, living in Europe and traveling around as a digital nomad, but I don't know, I'm very excited for kind of what's to come. And I think the more going off of what you asked about the unexpected benefits, I would say the unexpected benefits have been all the people that I've been meeting and also learning more for myself as a digital nomad of, oh, these are some really cool places that I can work from. Even you mentioning like salons, I hadn't even thought about that. And that's been something almost every day that's happening where I'm talking to people and they're like, oh, well, this is where I work from, or I love working from here. And I myself am realizing, like, oh my God, it seriously is infinite. Like the office or this work from home world that we're in, it seriously can be anywhere that we want it to be. And I think, I don't know, there's more freedom and flexibility than there ever has been before. So I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's really interesting to reimagine the landscape of how you're using space as well, right? Like all these
Yeah.
places you never thought could be a dual use or a, triple use. We probably
Yeah.
need to start doing that anyway with like so many
Yeah.
vacant office buildings and things like that. So
Yeah, that's kind of my current project right now at Sync. We've had a lot of people tell us, like, what about these vacant office buildings? So I'm actually trying to reach out to some companies now who may have that vacant space and say, like, hey, would you be interested in putting yourself on our platform and having some professionals work from the office for the day? It could even be an amazing networking opportunity for these people to come in, meet, your coworkers, for them to meet this person. And I don't know, it's a way for them to kind of ease the stress of the leases that so many companies are strapped in and they have all this unused space. So why not just put yourself on the platform and say, hey, we've got an empty desk. Like if you want to come and work from here for the day, then, why not? So,
I have one last question for you. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with if they think about going to, for example, a coffee shop. What is your
mhm.
best advice for finding a place where you can do calls or get
Mm,
privacy to do, for example, what we're doing here, which is record a podcast or a
yeah.
video, a vlog?
Definitely. So I would say go to sync and use our filters on our search because we've added places that it literally, because that was something that I thought about. Some people want a quiet atmosphere. So we've added that as one of our filters that people can search by. But aside from that, I think it's also personal preference because we've had some people say, like, I don't want a quiet place to take a call because I don't want people listening to me. So I want, a louder place. So I think it's kind of just about what your personal preference is. And, you can, at least for our places in Boston, you can go to Sync and you can see, what we've added about these places because I've personally been to almost all of them. And yeah, but I think it's just all about personal preference and knowing, like, do you want a quiet place? Do you want a loud place? Check out what people are saying about it. And, and then add it to Sync and let us know, let our community know. If you go there, let us know what you think about it.
All right, that's great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us today, Haley?
No, I would just say thank you so much for having me. I'm just really excited to kind of be getting the word out about Sync. And I think there's a lot of potential for the entire community. And it's something that we really want to build together, as I've been mentioning. So I just hope that people, I don't know, they check us out and they give us their recommendations. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And if people want to follow you or follow Sync, where can they go?
Yes. So our Instagram is sync.remote, but then they can go to our platform, which is a website right now. So it's syncremote.co. And there's going to be a mobile app by the end of this year. So if they sign up, then they will also receive that notification once we launch our app.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Haley. I wish you all the best of luck in this project, which is going to help a lot of people. And I hope we can all start contributing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you.